And remember, I just asked the questions, James. Just putting out there, it's up for you lads to debate this one out and take all the flack that might come with it online. So as I mentioned, Karl Starfelt was replaced at half-time on Saturday by Yuki Kobayashi, who went on to have a very good second half against Hearts in the 3-0 win. In terms of Kobayashi and of Starfelt's injury, Ange is quoted as follows. He felt a niggle in his hip flexor during the warm-up. He then felt it early on in the game, but we got it through to half-time and we could see he wasn't moving well in the first half. You could see he wasn't his normal self, so we made the change. I don't think it's anything significant, but it was good to get Yuki some game time. You can see his quality for a young man, and I thought he did very well when he came on. So here's the question quite specifically. Whether he's forced to, through injury or otherwise, should Ange Postecoglou now be looking at this opportunity to give Yuki Kobayashi an extended run in the starting 11 ahead of Karl Starfelt?
No for me. I think Starfelt is... he's just been one of those players since we've signed him that, you know, he's can be an easy target for a lot of supporters, just to vent some sort of frustration if you can find it with this team. For me, I just see a player that's actually getting better and better with Karl Starfelt. He feels very comfortable with the partnership with Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's very comfortable with Greg Taylor being his fullback as well. The two of them work extremely well together. And what I love about him is that he has got some pace on him. He's so quick. A couple of times players have got him in the back, and it's very rare that it happens to us domestically. And he's catching up with it very, very quickly. Even when he's made mistakes, I know he's got a stray pass in him. I get that. That's a lot of that frustrates a lot of people. But think about the amount of stray passes that are made up at the other end of the park as well. It's obviously more in focus because it could lead to a potential goal. I totally get that side of it as well. But everyone does have those moments, little lapses of concentration. Yeah, we don't want to see it. But for me, Karl Starfelt hasn't actually done much wrong in order to have his position up for debate. I think the penalty at Ibrox, yeah, I'd give him that. But again, put under needless pressure by Juranovic, in my opinion, with that as well. Kobayashi, for me, I think is definitely going to be the future. I think that's going to be the move forward. But I'm saying that in the sense of what I spoke about last week. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I think we'll struggle to keep a hold of Cameron Carter-Vickers this summer. I really do. Whereas I can see he's having Starfelt for another couple of seasons if he wants to be there. And Kobayashi looks like a very ready replacement, in my opinion.
Yeah, and all very fair comments. I guess that's that section wrapped up, James.
Yep, Mr. Self.
What about yourself? Where are you at with this one in general?
Well, I mean, I suppose the answer is we're going to get to see it whether we like it or not. You know, hip flexor injury, you know, as unserious as it sounds from listening to Ange there, if it's not rehabbed right, it can become a long-term thing and quite a chronic thing. So I don't think we'll see Starfelt for 2 to 3 weeks as they rehab that. So we're going to be seeing Kobayashi whether we like it or not. As it happens, I do like to see that. I think it's a good time to be seeing that. What we've seen of him is, you know, is decent. I like what I've seen of him. We've got to establish who's going to be, you know, the players that can take us forward in the Champions League next year. That's the question I'm asking every single game when I'm watching Celtic just now. So is Iwata going to come in midfield? I think so is the answer to that one. You know, it just looks class. But I thought Kobayashi was outstanding second half on Saturday there. Really, really calm. Had a few good tussles with the, can't remember the big lad going forward for them was. Never put a foot wrong. Read the game extremely well. Has a good bit of pace on him. Good pass to the ball. The main thing I would say overall is, you know, that people, not yourself, Paddy, but people do get very emotive about the Starfelt debate as such. And it only comes from a place of wanting to improve. You know, in Ange's team, the loyalty is based on ability and performance. And I think Starfelt has been excellent, but he does have that stray pass. And in Europe, you'll get killed for it. Jens saw it at his cost that, you know, slightly subpar performances in Europe got him binned. Mm-hmm. That's what happened. So it was unfortunate we didn't get to see Starfelt at that level too much because of injury. But I think we'll see a lot of Kobayashi the next few weeks, and then it'll be the decision to see, is it Starfelt coming back in, or is Kobayashi now cementing his place for next season? If Carter-Vickers goes, I think that gives us a real problem. Maybe Starfelt will be more, you know, natural on the right of that defence. He's a great defender, but I think he would really suit a kind of mid to bottom tier EPL table that defends for its life every single week. I think he would clean up in a team like that, whereas we're mostly a going forward team. We'll definitely be defending in Europe right enough.
Yeah, he's a brilliant defender. I don't think anyone doubts that, and that's his core strength. It is going to be interesting what happens in the immediate term. You're right, James. So maybe it's a couple of weeks out there. We've got Hibs on Saturday, and then it's the international break, so he might have a bit of time to recover. I don't know if he features right now for Sweden. He's been capped 5 times.
Away, yeah.
Injury.
I wonder if that works against him. I was actually just ahead of this section. I was looking at various articles about Starfelt, and there was an article in the Athletic, who now no longer cover Celtic, but that's a separate issue.
Can we get your moles to find out what happened there?
I'll try and find some moles first, and then I'll ask the question. But yeah, they're no longer covering Celtic or Rangers. Actually, they seem to have stepped back from that.
They only stopped Rangers because they weren't covering Celtic. Cover Rangers if you want.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from the Athletic, but there is a decent article back at the time from Kieran Devlin, who did pull together some great articles around Celtic, and it was when Starfelt signed, and they spoke to someone from Rubin Kazan, or someone who knows about Rubin Kazan, and they said the big thing that could go against Starfelt was injury. He had a kind of troublesome record, and I think it took him a time to make his debut for them. He's since come in. He was fairly fortunate in season 1 there for Celtic. He has picked up some niggle injuries this season, and he's missed a number of games through that, but hopefully not a big issue. And he's got a niggly thing at the moment with the hip flexor, but hopefully that's not something that hampers him one way or another. The Starfelt question, as you say, James, it's been an ongoing debate among Celtic fans, and sometimes quite emotive, and people thinking that he cannot be criticised. Of course he can. That's part of the game, as long as it's kind of fair and balanced and constructive. But I don't think it's a debate that's going to settle anytime soon. And Kobayashi getting game time just now or at Hibs will only kind of add fuel to that fire. To get it started in general here, though, do you want a mini Carl Starfelt quiz?
Why not?
Aye, why not indeed. So, question number 1. Carl Starfelt has played 52 games in the Scottish Premiership. How many games has he lost?
0.
Yeah, none.
It's more than 0. 0 when partnered with Carter-Vickers.
Yeah.
That's definitely the start.
2.
2 is right. So the very first game against Hearts, was it John Suter scored the winner there?
Of course he played,
And then Rangers a few weeks after that. That's the only 2 times, and that was a long time ago.
And that was when we were just getting into our stride and working out who went where.
Aye.
Interestingly, in game 1 against Hearts, do you know who his centre-half partner was?
Me?
Wasn't you? It should have been you.
Should have been me, aye.
What's his name?
Wasn't Welsh.
No.
So Welsh partnered them against Rangers. It was our old favourite. Near Beaton.
Beaton.
Big beats. So that
back in his favourite place.
you can kind of so you can give him a wee bit of coverage there for losing a game when Beaton's your partner. Anyway, so he's only lost 2 games ever in the Scottish Premiership, so pretty solid there. Question number 2: how many times were Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carl Starfelt partnered together in our 6 Champions League games this season?
0.
0 is correct. So Starfelt only played 1 game, the last game against Madrid, along with Moritz Jens. So, very unsettled there. And in Carl Starfelt, question number 3, in Carl Starfelt's 74 Celtic appearances, how many yellow cards has he picked up?
4.
7.
5. Just 5.
That's pretty good as well.
74 games, so nothing rash, not generally speaking. I mean, you mentioned the Rangers penalty, Paddy, but generally speaking, doesn't go to the ground unnecessarily and keeps his feet. I meant to check the stat for Carter-Vickers. I'm sure that'll be equally low. So generally speaking, based on those kind of stats, mini quiz questions, whatever Celtic do moving forward, and obviously there is a decision to be made by Ange, there's absolutely no question at this moment in time about how important Starfelt has been so far to this Celtic side.
I totally agree. I think for me, kind of just what you mentioned there about the injury side of things, and this seems to be a bit of a trend throughout his career. Perhaps this is just the ruthlessness of our manager and the way the club's going forward, that they just say, listen, you're a good player, but we can't rely on that. We can't have that as, we can't have mediocre centre-half sitting in the background whilst you are playing every week, and then we bring one of these players in. So every signing Ange makes, it's the team getting better, and he thinks, I'm assuming personally that every player he brings in, he'll be saying, this guy will replace this guy. I really do think that. I don't think he's signing squad players.
That's exactly it. I don't think he's signing guys for the bench. He's kept guys like James Forrest around, existing players for the bench. James Forrest is, I would say, no longer a first team player for Celtic. I think that's fair. But anyone he's bringing in, he's not bringing someone in to sit next to James Forrest. He's bringing someone in to say, can you go and replace, I don't know, Greg Taylor, maybe even Callum McGregor, whoever. I don't think anyone can rest on their laurels, because with every new signing, they're potentially the guy that's going to replace you in the team. So some kind of general kind of facts and stats around Starfelt. His full name, James, is Karl Anders Theodor Starfelt, which makes his initials Cats. Which is interesting. He's 27 years of age, turns 28 in June, signed for 4.3 million in July 2021 from Rubin Kazan on a 4-year deal. As I mentioned, Paddy, he's got 5 caps for Sweden, no goals, and he's been in and out. I think he's picked up a couple of caps since being at Celtic, but the few he won were before he signed for us. Obviously, honours-wise, he's now got a Scottish Premiership title in his back pocket, along with 2 League Cups. And overall for Celtic, he's had 74 appearances, 2 goals, 2 assists, only 5 yellows, as I mentioned, and that 1 red card at Ross County when he got elbowed in the mouth. Remember?
It was a shocking refereeing performance.
Wild.
Which is separate. Just an interesting stat comparing this season's appearances to last season. So overall in the Scottish Premiership, 52 appearances in total, winning 46, drawing 4 and losing those 2 that I mentioned. Last season he was involved in 34 games, so pretty much an ever-present after he came in, missed a couple, but 34 out of 38. This season he's only played 18, which is interesting. There's, obviously we've played less, we've played 27 at this moment in time, but of those 18 he's won 17, drawn 1 and lost 0. Crucially, he wasn't part of that St Mirren team that team that got beat by St Mirren back in September. It was Welsh and Jens who were the pairing on that occasion. In Europe, as I'd mentioned, he's obviously, the big disappointment is the fact that we never got him and Starfelt together for the Champions League appearances. So, as I mentioned, they only had the 1 game against Real Madrid, the 5-1 defeat, and again he was partnered with Jens, so it's been chopping and changing and different things. What seems abundantly clear, Paddy, based on that, is that Celtic would almost certainly have gone on to win the Champions League had Carter-Vickers and Starfelt remained in place. Your thoughts?
100%. It's a no-brainer. I think it's definite. We want to see these 2 get that opportunity in the group stage, in my opinion. Having said that, though, like kind of what I was talking about, I don't know if Ange is going to say to Starfelt, you're not able to stay fit long enough to be around here. That could be the case. For me, that's the only reason he leaves this team, though. I think the mistakes you could count like in one hand, if that, and a lot of fans just remember him coming in at the Alkmaar game and he looked a bit shaky, coming into that 2-1 game against Hearts, and they remember those moments. But actually, when you look at some of his performances, especially of late, I'm gutted he's been injured. He's had that injury now, and I think back to the final. James touched on it. His importance for the first goal as well as the second goal, and just breaking down play and he gets it moving very, very quickly. So as much as we talk about the defensive side of things, I actually do think he's getting better with bringing the ball out from the back as well.
I think that's really valid. I mean, James, do you think he's a better player now than the guy who made his Premiership debut against Hearts?
Like most of Ange's players, he's learned a whole new way of playing football. So inevitably he's going to be he's added strings to his bow there, and he is coming out of defence. He's Paddy saying he's very, very strong at it. It's always going to be hard. I mean, if you put a right back at left back and vice versa, it's as difficult as we saw from Juranovic. Part of that and part of how interested he was. But if you're putting a right-sided player left side of centre half and you're just asking him to clear the ball, fine. If you ask him to dribble with the ball, that's really difficult. I think the point you made about himself and Greg Taylor is really valid.
Yeah.
Because they've linked up so well, and Taylor's always an out ball, and we saw last week Bernabe's still just getting back to getting to where we want him to get to. Mm-hmm. You see how much we miss Taylor and Starfelt together. It makes it, for both of them, I suppose, it makes it an easier game. But if that is a left-footed player coming out, maybe he needs to rely on Taylor less, and he can drive forward a wee bit more himself, which gives us Taylor in a more advanced position. So I think he has, he's very, very good at it. I'm just wondering, I want to see if Kobayashi's better, that's all.
It's maybe all the more admirable what Starfelt does, that he's kind of playing out of position. Yeah. He's playing as a left-sided centre-half when he's very obviously a right-sided kind of player. I wonder if he'd shine even further if he were over on the right-hand side. But of course that would mean no Carter-Vickers, and nobody wants that. No. He has been absolutely outstanding. But yeah, to Starfelt's defence, he's doing a job in a slightly unnatural position. It's clear, of course, that Ange himself is a big fan of Starfelt, and he was talking around about a month ago about the player himself. So he said he's been a cornerstone of our team since pretty much the day he arrived last year. He was one of the first ones we signed. I guess he's a bit understated in the way he plays the game. He rarely gets beaten. He's always in the right areas and contributes both to our attack and our defence, and it's a credit to him and Cam. He then elaborates on the role of defenders in general at Celtic, and he said They have a good understanding, they complement each other really well. It's not easy to defend in our team. We're constantly pushing the line, but we want to be aggressive. It means a lot of one-on-one defending. You need to embrace that as a defender and be willing to put yourself in the line. They are both very, very brave in their position, as they need to be, and it's a credit to both of them. So, Paddy, whether he makes a change or not, Ange is really, glowing in his praise of the partnership, and it's clearly one of his values.
You can see just with that starting lineup most weeks, it's definitely, they're two definitely on the team sheet straight away for me. And one of the things I've noticed about his position and kind of what Ange's talking about is when it comes to those little moments where he's maybe bringing the ball out from the back with Taylor, if obviously the passes aren't on, he's very quick to recycle it and get it over to the more natural side of Cameron Carter-Vickers to start down the right. We're really, really strong at that. It can be frustrating as a fan sometimes just kind of watching the ball getting knocked about at the back, but it's basically they're just at the beginning of this new cycle. Every time they're getting quicker and quicker at it. I think the last few games, I think of the teams we've killed off very quickly in the first half, and a lot of it is coming for the passing at the back. We speak about that 9-pass goal, which
Jackson
slated, like that all starts coming from the back again.
Both were Starfelt.
Aye, both Starfelt, but it's even just see the movement between him and Taylor when they do start to bring it out. It's almost as if Starfelt kind of goes to cover his left-hand side when Taylor comes more into the middle, just to be there to receive the pass if he could get further down the line. I've watched that a few times, and just, I really like him. I think he's a very well-accomplished defender, and I think he can get better.
See, what I would say as well is, even on Saturday, there's points where Starfelt's on the ball and he looks a bit like jittery, and there's maybe a stray pass or he rethinks about. I think a lot of that comes down to players not working hard enough to show for him. And they are working hard, but just maybe not enough. And he's like, well, I'll try this slightly risky one then because no one's shown me for an obvious pass. And I think that's what will be getting said in the dressing room. Starfelt's coming out with the ball. You need to show for him to avoid that recycling going on. So there's a bit of defence for him even in there.
I agree with you there. I remember even the 2-each game at Ibrox, and it was after the first goal from Rangers, and the way Juranovic basically said, that's not my fault with what happened. Even though, aye, and then you seen actually later on in the game, you could see Starfelt was basically screaming at him saying, it was your fault, you need to be more to the left in that situation for us coming out, and for balls coming in on top of us, you need to be more to the left, he said. And you actually see the footage of him, he keeps telling him, go left, go left, go left, and Juranovic just wasn't wanting to do the work. Yeah. So he's vocal enough, which is good as well. I think a lot of people think he's quite quiet. It
is. What can't be denied, regardless how good Starfelt's doing his job, though, is that it is a slightly unnatural position he finds himself in, time after time. It's just part of the game. If you come out the left-hand side of defence and you're looking to break the lines with a pass, if you're looking to thread a pass maybe through to a tatty or even beyond, the angles don't quite allow for that in a natural way that it would do for a left-sided player.
You're naturally facing the stand instead of facing the opposition goal.
So from that point of view, Kobayashi's got a bit of an advantage there. So let's take a quick look at Kobayashi and his general information. So 22 years of age, he'll be 23 in July, signed in January from VCL Kobe, Kyogo's old team as well, and that was in a 5-year deal. He's only been capped at under 20 level so far, so 5 caps there, nothing for the senior team. And it's easy to forget that he's only made 3 Celtic appearances, so this isn't clamour from us at the Celtic Exchange to say, get this guy in, he needs to start now. But we're asking the question and we're having the discussion, but he's only had 3 appearances so far. 2 of them were starts, a 4-0 win against St Mirren in the league, a 5-0 win against Morton in the Scottish Cup, and obviously that second half appearance against Hearts on Saturday. Kobayashi made his J-League debut in April 2018, ironically against Ange Postecoglou's Yokohama Marinos, so a player that Ange has known about, in different ways for some time. And as much as we don't have a huge deal to go on in terms of what we've seen in a Celtic shirt, he does come with a big reputation in Japan, and he has been impressive in those few appearances. James, very composed in general, very comfortable on the ball.
I mean, just reading out his profile, it screams Ange Postecoglou. Everything about that says that's the kind of guy I like to sign. He's young, he's got potential, he's got the stature, he's quite fast, all of these things. Again, I would just take you on your point that it's not an anti-Starfelt at all. It's just, is there a better option for that position from an actual point of view? And I think it is. We've not seen enough of him. I mean, look at the stats you read out for Starfelt there, and you're saying, I want to shoehorn this for this three appearance guy in. It's mad, right?
3 clean sheets, pal.
3 clean sheets. scored a lot of goals as well. But you want to see, we just want to see what we've got. That's all. We can't. I'm not wanting to see him start his full Celtic first team career in the first group game of the Champions League next year. I want to see him a few games under his belt to be tested, to up against big cart horses and things like that. So I think you've got to see it sooner than later. We'd rather do it obviously when you've got the league in the bag, but I think we want to get him in sooner than later.
I think on that one as well, I think once this game in the 8th of April is kind of done with, I see a lot of rotation coming in then. I really do. I think we'll really start to know that the league's definitely within our grasp, and I just think that we'll start to see players being rested, especially with a semi-final coming up and the final coming up with the Scottish Cup. So the quicker we get to that point, it's going to be better for the likes of Haksabanovic, it's going to be better for the likes of Kobayashi, Iwata, all coming in and getting a shot at things. And again, just sets us up for another good summer again. We want a healthy bit of players as well, and just ready to get the pre-season going for what's going to be a big year in Europe for us next year. So
you might well be right, and there's no doubt we're going to make further signings. That's all part of it. It's interesting, just you touched on it there, but what you can do with stats. So if you look at Kobayashi stats in general, played 3, scored 12, conceded nothing, 3 wins. It's as good as it gets for a defender. But he can make stats do anything, as I say. So Ange was speaking about him after the game on Saturday, and obviously he's got his own thoughts as well about what involvement he'll have between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I thought he did well. He's a very, very good footballer. You can see that he's so calm on the ball. Having a left-sided centre back is such an asset, and again, he's only 22, so as a defender, he's still got a lot to learn. But he works hard every day. He works hard with, we're fortunate we've got John Kennedy in the building, who's an outstanding centre back, and he does a lot of work with John every day just to be ready for his opportunity. He hasn't had a lot, but he's definitely one we think can be a strong contributor, between now and the end of the year and beyond.
Yep, so as Ange says there, James, he thinks that Kobayashi can play a big part between now and the end of the season. We've got 10 league games to go, potentially 2 in the Scottish Cup. So to round off the main question here, just how much do you think he will contribute to what Ange is looking to achieve this season?
It's down to Kobayashi. If he plays he will play on Saturday. I'm pretty confident of that. If he plays well, he stakes a claim to get the jersey, to retain the jersey for after the international break. I suppose the litmus test will be if Ange trusts him then to play against Rangers on the 8th of April. If he does, then it's his jersey.
You might be right. Last quote here, Paddy. So when Kobayashi signed, Ange was quoted as follows. He says, "We're really pleased. Yuki is someone that we've been following for a while, and it was a great opportunity to bring him in. He's a left-sided centre-back, and they're hard to find." He mentioned that in the audio just there as well. He's at a really good age where he's already had some great experience, but with great potential ahead of him. So to me, Paddy, this indicates that Ange has been looking for a left-sided centre-half for some time as part of the overall puzzle. Will Kobayashi be that guy?
Yeah, I think so. Like I say, I generally think anyone that's coming in, he's planning to get them into the team somehow, and it might not always work. So you want to try and keep these guys around that they could be replacing, and it's just managing that squad the way we have been. I think I spoke a lot before the World Cup break about how key rotation was for our team and how important it was. It's actually been able to take the foot off the gas with that a bit, obviously, because we've not been playing in Europe this side of the year, and I just think that has been great for the boys that are in the starting 11, but the ones that are trying to get into that starting 11 and trying to stake a claim, it'll be very hard for them. It's been very hard for them. They're going to get their opportunities though. That's the thing with this boss. I really do think we will see Haksabanovic come good. And I'd like to think that Kobayashi, probably will be the guy that goes and takes that position. But personally, I still think that Starfelt is going to be around a long time at Celtic as well.
Just I think you make the key point on rotation there, and for Starfelt staying about as a naturally right-sided centre half, you can then start to rest Carter-Vickers because he doesn't get any rest at all, and that'll take a toll in the end. So you can rotate a wee bit with him. But if you ever need him at left centre half, he's got a season and a half of real experience there, and very successful experience. So when we were looking at squad stuff at the start of the season, we were talking about Jens, Starfelt, Kobayashi, Carter-Vickers. That was going to be our 4 centre halves if Welsh went away, and we would need those 4 strong centre halves. You probably need 3+1, 3+ a reserve if Starfelt is the first reserve, because he can cover both left and right.
Yeah.
what's also interesting, just as we kind of close this one out, is that we're all saying, I think generally speaking, the consensus is that Starfelt he's been excellent for Celtic. His stats prove all of that, but there does seem to be a natural replacement there in the shape of Kobayashi, particularly given that he's left-sided. But what we've also seen from Starfelt is that he's a real competitor. You know, he's a warrior, and he's not going to sit and just watch somebody take his shot. So what we've seen now within the Celtic side is that pressure for your place seems to be bringing out the best of various guys. Guys are raising their game. Greg Taylor's a great example. We signed Bernabe, who generally speaking can't get a look in, and Taylor's gone to new levels. And I think Starfelt's continued to improve, as you say, Paddy, this season. And whether Kobayashi gets a nod or not moving forward, Starfelt's not going to give that shut up without a fight, and that can only benefit Celtic, very generally speaking. So it's an interesting debate. As I say, it's one that, you know, people have got quite strong opinions on, but it's definitely a valid discussion to be having. And whether Ange decides to go with Starfelt or Kobayashi between now and the end of the season, what we do have are two very good centre halves vying for that position alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers. Okay, let's move on to this week's Mystery Cell, and we'll start with a quick reminder of last week's Mystery Cell for anyone who missed it. So, clue number 1, I made over 150 appearances for Celtic from the early to late 90s. Clue number 2, I scored a last-minute winner against Rangers in October 1993. And clue number 3, after leaving Celtic, I joined Aberdeen before going on to play for 2 seasons in the Bundesliga. The answer, of course, was Brian O'Neill. James, your thoughts on Brian O'Neill? A talented player, but perhaps, you know, part of a tough time in Celtic's history across the 90s.
Yeah, and I think I remember seeing him, you know, coming through as a youth, and you're thinking, well, this is going to be one for the future, you know. It probably is just a victim of timing as much as anything else. But, you know, he had a lot of good players around him as well, and it just didn't really happen for him. I mean, I don't really know what he did much after Celtic, you know, and does he heights-wise and stuff like that? You know, obviously Aberdeen, but...
Clue number 3, I spent 2 years in the Bundesliga.
I went to Wolfsburg, that's right. But, you know, he wasn't like then, you know, starring for Scotland and stuff like that. You know, he didn't have maybe as much success as his early promise alluded to. So, but, you know, he seemed like a likeable guy. Definitely had bags of talent, but just, I don't think anybody wants to remember. Not Brian O'Neill's time, that whole time.
The early to mid-90s can forget it. So just in terms of his profile, so he came to Celtic via Celtic Boys Club and debuted in the 91 season under Liam Brady. The last minute winner he scored against Rangers was officially the start of the Lou Macari era, but it was actually Frank Connor who was taking the team that day as he finished his spell as caretaker manager unbeaten, which you'll remember, James. And you too, Paddy. I'm forgetting you remember the 90s.
Another wee dig there, Paddy. Another wee dig.
Tommy Burns then came in and he used O'Neill as a ball-playing centre-half, so he started life as a midfielder. Tommy Burns moved him back to ball-playing centre-half, but he suffered a serious knee injury, which meant he missed out on the 1995 Scottish Cup final win, so tough one to take, I'm sure. As mentioned, he then joined Aberdeen for a season in 97, before then moving to Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga, where he had a successful 2-year spell. He then signed for Derby and finally Preston North End. I'm not sure, just you mentioned it, James, I'm not sure if he's now involved in football at any level at all. I'm really not sure if he's still in the game, but maybe one of the listeners can let us know on that one. But good Celtic player, tough time in his life, and a tough time for Celtic.
All our lives.
But good luck to Brian O'Neill, you know, a good servant during his time. Okay, let's move on to this week's Mystery Cell. As always, the first 10 people who reply with the right answer on the Mystery Cell on our Twitter page win a month completely free of the Celtic Exchange Plus. To take part, just visit our Twitter page right now at Celtic Exchange, and you'll see the clues posted there in our pinned tweet, and good luck to everyone taking part. The score, Paddy. You want the score?
I do want the score.
Just to motivate you. The score is currently 5-4, James, to the host, so chance to equalise. Aye.
That is aye.
Chance to equalise.
5 each.
Yeah. Are you ready, James?
You need to check back your tapes.
You seem focused.
Yep.
Let's go with it. So clue number 1. Despite an impressive goals record throughout my career, I never won any international caps.
Okay.
Anyone jumping out, Paddy?
George Cadet.
Oh, he's
No, I
plenty
did
of Portugal
that,
caps, yeah. Good goal scorer, though.
Really...
Clue number 2.
Oh, Di Canio.
Not Di Canio. Clue number 2. I've scored for Celtic in the Champions League group stages.
Donati? No, it was qualifier. Samaras plenty of caps.
You're looking deep in thought, Paddy. You're waiting for number 3, aren't you?
Always.
And clue number 3, Neil Lennon has signed me twice. So, while the lads are having a wee think about that one, I want to give listeners a short reminder of the additional content we provide over on the Celtic Exchange Plus. As well as special episodes we do with ex-players, coaches and journalists, we produce extra pre- and post-match podcasts for every Celtic game, and we'll have additional podcasts either side of Saturday's upcoming league game with Hibs, and that'll cover everything you need to know before and after the game. If you haven't already subscribed, you can experience the Celtic Exchange Plus right now, absolutely free with our 7-day trial. Simply visit thecelticexchange.com/sign up to get started and to enjoy all the additional content we offer to subscribers. We've got subscriptions starting at just $1.50 a month, so if you enjoy what we do and want to hear even more from us across the week, then visit thecelticexchange.com/sign up now.
Is it 5 each? I thought it was 5 each. Is it 5 each?
It is
It is now.
It is now.
It is now.
So it'll be beeped out, but James got it just at the death there.
The death.
So scraping. I felt that last clue made it too easy.
Aye.
I was going to get
I wonder
it
if the
anyway.
listeners feel the
gonna
same.
get it
But
anyway.
I'm sure you'd have nailed it, James, as always. But remember, if you think you know the answer to this week's Mystery Celt and want to win a month free of the Celtic Exchange Plus, then simply reply to our pinned tweet at Celtic Exchange using the hashtag Mystery Celt.